Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name's Fiddle. Today we're going to be diving back into Madeline's house. We're going to be making the round table and possibly the oil lamp necklace and photo. It depends on how much time we have. But we are definitely starting with the table first. As always, don't forget to check the link in the description. That'll lead you to the list of materials and free printable pattern so you can make this table for yourself. Okay, are you ready? Let's go. The first thing we need to do is cut our pattern piece out. But we're going to do it a little bit different. Because of how I had to arrange the pattern on the paper, we can't cut all of them out at once. So we're going to start with a tablecloth circle first. I drew mine straight on my fabric, but if you wanted to make a stencil of each one to make it easier, that's a good idea too. Okay, and now onto the tabletop. If you're using wood, you don't have to double up on your layers. The multiple layers are for the people using chipboard like me. And lastly, the table foot. You'll need 3 or 4 of these depending on how tall you want your base to be. Once you've got them all cut out, grab your double-sided tape because we're going to be using it to stick our layers together. If you don't want to use double-sided sticky tape or if you don't have any, glue is always still the best next answer. It's just sometimes I find something that I really like and then I will use it for any and everything I possibly can think of. Perfect example would be Dollar Tree ribbon twine. I made so many pieces of furniture out of it and I still have more ideas. And it's the same thing for building materials. So bear with me because I'm going to be using this tape a lot. And with the benefits I've found already, I think it's something I'm going to try to keep on hand at all times. The past 2 weeks I've been finishing up the first floor and starting to build the second floor. And I have to say, it feels so much sturdier than the first floor. Plus, no warping or dry time to worry about. Next, stick your corresponding layers together for both the foot and the tabletop. When you have them all stuck together, we need to find the center of both the foot and the tabletop. I folded my pattern piece in half and used it to find the center. Now we need to measure and cut our post. To make sure I was putting the table at the right height, I used the chair to measure against it. I'm using a chopstick just like I did for both of the chairs. Matter of factly, the bottom of them are pretty much the same. Next, tape all of the big tabletop circles together. Next, you'll need your plastic cones. I'm still using plastic pieces from a box of liquor chocolates that I had gotten years ago. But a good alternative for this strange piece would be ear thermometer protector covers. They are about the right size and shape, and not to mention since we're going to be putting resin in them, it'll harden it up so you don't have to worry about how soft the ear protector is. Just like we did with the chairs, cut off the cone's flat top, poke the chopstick through the hole, then resin it in place. Repeat the same process for the other end of the chopstick. Next, add resin around the rim of your plastic piece and attach it to the center of your table foot. Then flip it over and repeat the process for the tabletop. While things are curing, go grab your iron. We're going to need it for the tablecloth. Once everything's had time to cure or dry, we can give our table base a coat of paint. I went with black just because it's simple and covers everything up. In the movie, it does look like that it's actually a spindled post and a wood bottom. I attempted to try to make it look like a spindle by using paper and quilling it, but it didn't turn out the greatest, so I just went back to the same way that I made the chairs. I will be trying it again sometime because I think I have something there, I just have to refine it. I'll figure it out eventually. But anyways, we don't need to paint the top of our table because we're gonna tape fabric to the top of it as a tablecloth, so you won't see it anyways. And my fabric's kind of sheer and I didn't want that black to show through. Speaking of tablecloth, that's what we're going to do next. You'll need your circle of fabric, some thin jeweler's wire, your iron, and a cheap glue stick. Start out by adding a line of glue all the way around the rim of your circle. Lay your wire in the glue and fold your fabric over top. Then use your iron to set it in place. Keep going all the way around until you reach back to the other side. Once you've got that done, add double-sided sticky tape to the tabletop. Then center the table over the tablecloth and stick it down. Now we can pull the edges down and put pleats in them so that way it stays and has waves and folds like a regular tablecloth would. And now we have a little round table that was pretty easy to make. But we're not done yet. We're going to make some of the small accessories that go in the room, starting with the oil lamp. For this you'll need a large clear bead or a ball silicone mold with UV resin. This is the route I took because I didn't have any clear beads and I just got these molds and wanted to try them out. I poured and cured in layers because I don't know all the ins and outs of it yet. And while that's curing, we can start building the stand. You'll need one large metal gear and one large metal cone, making sure the cone fits on top of the gear decently well and just sticks out a little bit. Next, add a small drop of resin to the top of the cone. This is for a small upturned round bead cap. Then cure under a UV light. And while we're waiting, we can start making the flue for the lamp. Take your skinny straw and cut it about an inch long, then put a piece of masking tape on one end to seal it up. Turn it over and slowly fill it with resin. Then cure it completely. And while we're waiting, we can continue building the rest of the lamp. Add a small bit of resin to the upturned bead cap, then place our resin ball on top. Cure again, and this is what it looks like so far. Our resin straw should be ready now, so we can cut it out of the casing. Then set it aside, we'll come back to it later. Next you'll need a large round bead cap. What we need to do is get it centered on the top and mark it out with a permanent marker or some other marking tool. That will help us a little later on. Next you'll need your flathead jewelry pin and a pair of pliers. While holding the head of the pin and about a 1/4 inch of the post, use your pliers and curl the other end back around to make a loop. You'll want the circle to be as big around as your smallest gear, which we'll be using in just a minute. Then at the junction, pull the pin straight. Next, add resin to your smallest gear and place it on top of one of your medium gears. Next, add the jewelry pin on top of that, then cure. And this is what it looks like so far. Now add the second medium gear on top and cure it. And now we're going to try something a little different. Take your light and set it up to where it is shining outward, not straight down. Think of it kind of like a glass blower's flame, and slowly turn your post and add resin as you go. But I will say that this may cause air bubbles, which I was perfectly okay with. If you don't want any air bubbles, you can dip the end of your stick in a bowl of resin and move it around and cure it and keep adding up layers like I did for the potion bottles in Ginger's book nook. And while that's curing, add one more big round bead cap to the top of our ball. Then add our gear sandwich on top of that and cure it. This is what it looks like so far, and we have one more piece to add, and that's the flue. While that's curing one last time, let's make the pearl necklace. For this you'll need needle, thread, and some tiny pearl beads. They're just a bit bigger than seed beads. Tie a knot at the end of your thread and then start adding your beads until you think the necklace is long enough to be a 1/12 pearl necklace. Then loop back through your first bead, tie a knot, and super glue it in place. Now the lamp's completely cured and this is what it looks like. I do have a bit of bubbling, but that's okay, I'm fine with it. And this is what the necklace looks like. Now, I wasn't really sure on how to do a tutorial for the picture, so I just decided to do a time lapse of me drawing and coloring it out. My drawing came out much bigger than it needs to be, but my idea was to scan it into the computer and then print it out in the correct size. But my printer's almost out of ink, so I went ahead with this picture. And this is what everything looks like all together. For the rest of the little stuff, I did make a rug pattern and attempt to embroidery the rug, but it didn't go so well. So I ended up painting it on a piece of canvas and calling it a day. If you would like the pattern for the rug, let me know and I'll add it on Patreon. I also made the privacy curtain that goes in front of the door, curtains for the bay window, and the big teal pot with the 2 pinwheel fans. And with that, the first floor is done except for the bay window roof, and that will be coming with the second floor. I hope this gives you some ideas for your next project. If you've made it this far, thank you for being here. If you're new, welcome. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment, as it all really helps me out a lot. Thank you, Ginger, and I'll see you next time.